Welcome to A Delhi Love, Ishq, Muhabbat, Pyaar, the podcast that treats Delhiwalas to captivating conversations on living and loving all things Delhi. Delhi is not just a place, it's a state of mind, an attitude that leaves a mark on everyone who visits or calls it home. I'm Yasmin Kidwai, your host, a documentary filmmaker, former municipal councillor, and at heart, the quintessential Delhi girl. I love how Delhi is both old and new at the same time. I value its history and heritage and love exploring the new aspects of the city we share. I'm no expert, but I grew up in the gullies here, enjoyed public service here, and just like you, shared a deep passion for Delhi's enigmatic soul. Together, let's embrace the delightful contradictions that make Delhi the city it is. After all, around every corner, there must be 1,000 dastans to share in this megacity of a million conversations. Sometimes the seed of a great idea begins in the most mundane observation. For instance, the person we're about to meet was in the middle of a round of spring cleaning his closets with his wife. They found 67 items in good condition, which they had not used for a while and did not need. He asked, "What can we do with this?" Looking for the solution, he began a journey that today gives dignity to thousands and helps to bridge the gap between the wealth in cities and the requirements of villages. His work has been described as pioneering, innovative, transformative, and a catalyst in the pursuit of a more equitable and inclusive life for all. He is called India's clothing man. Once a successful corporate communications professional, Anshu Gupta left it all to create the NGO Goonj. Goonj works with urban surplus, beginning with clothes to address rural poverty. Their key insight was that everyone needs roti, kapda, makan, but hardly anyone focuses on clothing, which is about human dignity and rights. Goonj facilitates an economic bridge between urban wealthy India and impoverished rural India by creating a mechanism for second-hand clothes and goods to pass from the wealthy to the poor. Today, Vastradan is a nationwide ongoing clothes donation movement to familiarize donors with the concept of conscious and sustained giving. Goonj now works on issues ranging from disaster relief to menstrual hygiene awareness. Humanity, dignity, and sustainable development are at the heart of every intervention. Along the way, Goonj has created a small and motivated core team, a larger committed volunteer workforce, and connections with like-minded organizations across the country. Anshu Gupta's contributions have led to several awards and global recognition, including the Ramon Magsaysay Award. Today we will talk to Anshu Gupta about his work with Goonj, the NGO he started, about clothes as a basic human need, clothes as a currency in exchange for work, giving responsibly, tapping community wisdom, and the role of individuals in making a tangible difference to the lives of others.
This entire game that I want to donate this and all that is rubbish. We don't donate, we discard. If you want to have beautiful cities, go and work in the villages. So we never sell the poverty. The idea is that you are privileged, you can share. One DDA house can actually be very useful in having the best possible doors and windows for 3 schools. Either we give what we have, we don't give what people need. I mean, when you discard something mentally, you should discard that thing physically also.
Welcome, Anshuji.
Thank you.
I'm going to go straight in and ask you, your journey from a corporate professional to founding Goonj is really inspiring. What moved you to do this?
I think one thing which I always tell people that I think Goonj happened to me more than I happened to Goonj. I was never a believer of destiny and all that, but now you see how things happen in your life because you study something else, you practice something else, and then you end up doing something else. And that's what my story is. And then the seed comes from those days of journalism, okay, because that's what I did, that's what I studied, and some of those stories and some of those anecdotes, maybe I would say those became the seed for this entire work of Goonj. I mean, including the most common story which large number of people have already heard, with how I met with the family of a dead body picker, and spent a lot of days and time with the family on the footpath of Delhi outside LNJP hospital. And this guy used to pick up unclaimed dead bodies for the local police, and he was paid 20 rupees and 2 meter of white cloth per dead body. And I could never imagine in that, when I was just about 20 plus and I had come from a beautiful city of Dehradun, and the big city was happening to me, okay, the meanings were changing. So like, as I always say, that if you talk about a footpath or a sidewalk as it is called now, in Dehradun it is for the people to walk. But in a city like Delhi and many other cities, it's all about life. The kid goes to the school from the footpath, and the parents come back to the footpath from their work.
Yes.
So it's different, Red lights never used to be there in those days. I'm talking about 1990. And the moment you come to Delhi and you see red lights, and you say, no, red light is not just about controlling traffic. It's about life. Hundreds of people depend on that. By selling, by begging, or near the red light where people actually stop to buy something, all that. So in that era, in that frame of mind, I met this person, Habib Bhai, and found out that how he was picking up unclaimed dead bodies of the homeless people, or people who come in distress, or people who come in search of job, but before they settle down, they go through a tough phase. And he was paid 20 rupees, 2 meter of white cloth. And then the way he explained that in winters his work goes up. And my calculation that how every 24 hours he was picking up 10 to 12 dead bodies in winters versus 4 to 5 in summers. Right? And the initial understanding is that people are dying because of cold. Because that's very obvious, very, very obvious when you see this number gap. But then the realization, as I often say, somewhere people ke ped ke niche maybe, sometime. And you say, no, the cold is not killing people. Because if the cold kills people, I would have died. So I survive on my scooter, even in the night at 70 kilometers per hour. Someone static dies on the side of road. It's actually not cold but lack of clothing.
Yeah.
Which we never imagined that it can become such a big issue. And then his little daughter, the most shocking statement came from her when she actually, in Hindi she said कि जब मुझे ठंड लगती है तो मैं लाश के साथ चिपक कर सो जाती हूँ. She says, when I feel cold, I hug the dead body and sleep. Fine, it's a story. And you write a 2-pager in a very beautiful magazine of those days called Saptak Hindustan. And
you met him in relationship to work. You were looking for a story.
I met him because I was very fond of Old Delhi for 2 reasons. One, of course, in search of stories. And second, of course, the roadside food. I was very clear about it. So the moment I used to find time, or even if I'm bunking my class, my destination was Old Delhi. So I used to be on the roof of a kabutarbaji person, and then I used to spend a lot of time with them just to understand that business, that fun. Or in those days we used to have this Sunday bazaar, Kabadi bazaar. I used to spend a lot of time there, not to buy something, but just to understand that how this life happens. Morning till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, it is one of the biggest toilet in that area. And after 9 o'clock, it is one of the biggest market every Sunday. See how things changes. So that's what I used to do. And that's where I met this family. And that's where the realization came that it's actually the issue of clothing. Cold is not killing.
So this you realized this, and it was somewhere at the back of your mind, because you actually I also read this, that you were cleaning, spring cleaning your closets with your wife, and you found some extra 67 items of clothing which you were like, what do we do with this? And that's
no. So from those days, I think somehow cloth became something for me.
From the time you had met Habib
Met
Bhai.
Habib Bhai and then couple of incidents in Uttarakhand and many other places. So, as you say, darshan happens. So that happened to me. To the extent, it was so funny that even if I see someone wearing oversized cloth, it was bothering me, or at least I was paying attention to it. So
Acha.
cloth became something like that. If it is lying somewhere,
Huh.
like, many times on the side of road,
Yeah.
these are scattered
Yeah.
or these are torn or whatever. So you had an eye on that. So somehow, like all of us, someone will see kachra, someone will see pan ka nishan, someone will see something. And my natural thing started happening with cloth somehow. So in 98, then I left my job because this kida was happening. And
You had anything specific in your mind when you left your job, or?
the specific thing were two. One is that I hate tie and black shoes. And the second thing is that I'm not going to do any job, so I will not apply. So my bigger decision was not to leave, but the bigger decision was not to
join only.
not to apply again anywhere. Although, I mean, that was a beautiful time for much better jobs. I was with the Scots that time, because that is the time when the telecom sector opened, and we were in telecom. But that was a crucial decision that time, and also this entire issue of I think homelessness, and especially related to clothing and winters, all that had started bothering. So that is where we just decided that anything which we have not used in the last, say, 3 years of marriage, what is that? And that's where these 67 units of cloth, utensil, footwear, whatever, I don't even remember, but I remember exactly the 67 units. That's how it came out. We didn't know what are we getting into. We didn't know how it will happen.
When you say we, it's you and your wife.
Yeah. I mean, because Meenakshi kept working with the BBC. She was with the BBC for many more years, because of course someone had to take care of the kitchen. I was in the spending part. Yeah. So she was devoting, of course, most of her time in the job, which was very demanding job. But I was there, and somehow it started.
And how did it go from that, when it started with these, from a small action at home to becoming Goonj as we know it today?
It's evolved. It's evolved, and it's the labor of hundreds of people. I mean, I'm just the face of it. Especially the people who came and joined when it was not a so-called brand, when we didn't have even 5,000 rupees to pay salaries. Couple of rooms we used to have, and we didn't have fans in those rooms. Right? And there was a time when we come from hardcore middle class. I mean, there are 100 different kind of middle class, but we come from the hardcore one, where salary is needed to run the month. Right? And our work is very emotional, but if you see the back end of it, is hardcore logistics. You need a space, you need material, you need people to sort, you need transport. So it eats money. Right? So I think still people started joining, and many of them are still here. I mean, we just celebrated our 25 years, and we have about 109 people who have done 10 years plus.
How many people does Goonj have today?
We have 1,000 plus now.
Oh wow! Okay.
All across the country.
What is? How did you think of the name Goonj?
As I always say that I can write a book on it now, but it's a beautiful poetic name. I love Hindi poetry. I do write also. I mean, has been my passion. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to give time to that, but that's one. Poetry and photography are two personal passions.
Photographs I've seen.
So those two are passion. And today we can talk a lot about it, but I think that time it was a beautiful name, and it was also challenging the normal trend. So I remember when we didn't know that we have to register it. That's why we started in 98, and 99 it was registered. We didn't know that there is some process, or there's something called NGOs and social sector and all that. So 99, on the advice of a friend, we went, and the registrar actually, first thing he asked that, what is the purpose? And he said, is it music? Because Goonj is all about music. I said, no. It's about clothing. And he was confused. He's like, clothing and Goonj? I said, no, but the voice should spread. And then we also found a paper a few years back, which I think was written in June of that year, 98, in a very bad handwriting, which is mine, where it says कि इसकी आवाज़ फैलनी चाहिए, all that kind of thing. So I think that replication copy, which are now beautiful word and we know the vocabulary, I think that was the whole idea. And Goonj is all about that. Right? And if you see those 2 dots in our logo, those are very important and those are very thoughtful, because the whole idea was that 1 dot is full stop.
Should continue.
And 2 dots means lage raho, be on it. And I think so far,
yes,
we have made sure that
yes, you
2 dots are relevant.
You were talking about the initial challenge and of course financial, and coming from a middle class family. Was there opposition from the family? Was there did you have a fear of, once you start working for a larger cause, there is a fear of missing out on the good life. Then you're moving away from the aspirations of the middle class. And, everybody wants to go from one thing to another thing. Were those challenges there? Did your family support or were they against it?
So the good part is that family didn't oppose. And not only we are privileged about this, but we were also very sure. And this is something I often talk to large number of youth. When they come and they start talking about that how parents oppose and how they don't want to, they're forcing us for something and all that, I say maybe 50% is fine. I understand that 50% parents are like that. But 50% is our fault also, maybe because we have not earned that confidence. So in my case, in our case, we earned that confidence with our parents, that we actually got a very free hand in terms of our education and what we want to do. Yes, even journalism was a very tough decision.
Yes, at that time.
Okay, because that time it was not even a profession for the larger country. It was something risky.
Yeah, true.
Not a profession.
True.
So I was the first person in my family to go for a formal journalism course at IIMC. I come from a hardcore family of engineers. Most of them are IIT Roorkee and all that. So I would say not opposition, but a word of caution. As we often joke that my father-in-law was a happy man, because the marriage happened between 2 executives and going on well type people, and then he found that his son-in-law is a kabadi.
Yeah.
So and he also comes from a hardcore government job, and my father also that way. So it was tough for them. I can tell you that, but no opposition, word of caution. So those Times of India's Ascent and Hindustan Times Career or whatever those paper used to be there, very beautifully they both and my mom and other people used to come just to suggest us that there is a good opportunity.
But honestly, opposing your own parents is one thing, and we all can be a little rebellious and want to do what we want. But when it comes to your own children, that's when the fear is, whether you'll be able to provide them. And you have a daughter, so did you ever fear you'll not be able to provide? With this way that you're going, you'll not be able to provide?
So I'm very see the irony and the beautiful part of it, that Urvi is actually born in the same year
as Goonj.
Oh, okay. So we were just a few years back, we were called in KBC, and suddenly Amitabh Bachchan asked her about what does she feel and all that, and about her life and about her parents' work, and she says that I'm very proud, and the fact remains that this is a life. I have not seen any other life. And then she adds that in fact I call Goonj my sibling because we were born in the same year.
How lovely. Yeah. How lovely. Yeah.
And I think that day, to be honest, we cried a little bit, because
You felt validated.
yeah, I mean, it's not that before that we were not validated, but in a public forum, coming so instantly, that too in front of the
Amitabh
master,
Bachchan, yeah.
of everything,
Yeah.
So that shows something that I think we have done a little bit right. And also, I think when our parents took some steps in their life, they just took steps. When my father said that, come what may, I can be transferred 10 different places to the remotest possible place, but I'll not give or take a single penny. So
yeah, they came from that generation.
absolutely, and I'm a proud son of those parents.
Mm-hmm.
So taking risk, saying no, is in blood, and handling repercussion is in blood.
True.
So the credit for that actually goes to the parents, not to me.
But tell me, how did you decide, focus specifically on clothing as a catalyst for change? Donations are normally made in either cash or food. People like to donate food, and langar is a common concept. How did you get people to give clothes?
It is proven that it's been a non-issue. Right? It's 100% taken for granted. You talk about 3 basic needs of humankind, you say
Yes.
roti, kapda, makan. Right?
Yeah, but the kapda is the
Clothing
neglected.
never happens. Clothing is a hardcore charitable subject-object, or it's a disaster relief material. So you need a flood to be flooded with clothes. Right? Because we are not understanding that economic poverty is one of the biggest ongoing disaster. And 2020, in that COVID era, millions of people walking across is a proof of that. Second, winters are never considered a disaster. Although with that Habib story and much more, we actually proved that more people die in winters due to lack of clothing than earthquake or floods. What were we worried in, say, Ukraine or, say, Afghanistan? We were more worried about how people are coping up with the weather. But it's not a development subject. I mean, imagine even in MDG, SDG, you must be having some 100, 150s issues and, the sub-issues. Literally maybe from domestic violence to now, reverse migration. But you don't have clothing.
Clothing still.
And the fact remains that if few of us are in this room, many of us might be here without lunch. But all of us are here in this room because each one of us is wearing cloth. So it's a basic need. It's not either or. A lot of people came to us and said, oh, but if you're working, you should work on food. So chapati can replace the t-shirt. The fact remains no. And maybe because the policy makers and the decision makers have experienced hunger. Because when you don't have dinner on time after lunch, you feel hunger. When you go on a tour and the hotel is not booked, you also experience what is going to happen. Where am I going to stay? But maybe the policy makers and all of us have never been through this phase.
No clothing.
When we are sitting somewhere in compulsion without cloth and making decisions. So it's a completely ignored gross issue across the globe. And there is acute material poverty. Right? Lot of people, to be honest, people like us also get into debt cycle by using credit cards to do what? To buy material.
Yes.
So if you see the larger country and the world, large number of people get into debt cycle not to buy the material which they want, but the material which they need. And this is completely ignored. And see this COVID thing. Everyone was talking about e-education. I'm giving a very simple example. Because clothing was a starting point. As you know, we deal with almost every kind of material. Anything which still has life, which should not go to landfill, is what we work on. Right? So when we were talking about e-education, my daughter, if she is taking a class, that time she was giving a class, on a laptop, you have a mobile to make notes. Now you see the larger population where everyone is talking about e-education. 2-3 kids are using one mobile at very high rate in any case, bandwidth cost and all. They listen, they talk, And no one was talking about notebooks and pencils. Where do they make notes? Very simple example, simplest possible example. That's how we ignore the need of the people, the larger population. That if you, like in disasters, in that any disaster, you will actually read XYZ villagers got water. Then next day, this villagers got water. For you, water means you send the tanker there, without understanding that those guys do not even have a bucket to hold it. So in the data, the water is gone because it is gone. But the fact they have not got the water because there is no bucket, it's material. A sari for women, a trouser for me, is my need. A pencil and eraser and a notebook is a need for the education. So that's how we understood the meaning of the material poverty. And we said it's acute. And because you end up, buying second grade material at much higher cost, that too on debt, you end up paying more. Your other important issues, are also bothered because of that. Because this precious, very limited resource, when you buy in such thing, when you spend in such thing, at the cost of your health and education.
But is it a need which is understood as a basic need by the recipients also, or do they feel that this is a a luxury, and my food need is more important to be met, because you have to sensitize people who are giving as also receiving, right?
So in our model, a lot of things are taken care that way, right? So because one of the very important part is that if you see, clothing is also a symbol of dignity, right? And right from the beginning, we were very absolutely against the sustained charity part, because we were arguing that ultimately charity kills dignity of people. Sustained charity I'm talking about. Instant one time is fine, but otherwise it kills dignity of people. And dignity is not something you can actually give to someone. And dignity is something with which we all are born. It's a part of our soul. So the society either can respect or it can challenge. So we got into the respecting part of it. And we said that material, which is ultimately a symbol of charity or a tool for charity all across the globe, if people start earning this material, if people start receiving it with a lot of respect. So in our game now, the entire Goonj story, if you see, people dig well, people make roads, people do plantation, people do huge amount of farming, revival of water bodies for their basic needs, and so many places because of that the agriculture is revived, and then receive this kit. Also, we are not saying that it can replace money. So we are very careful that if that community has any opportunity to earn money, we will never go and start this work. Let people earn money wherever they get a chance, and say 6 days in 6 months or 5 days in 6 months, they earn material. Just complement, supplement. There's no competition.
Can you describe the process of material sourcing and collection at Goonj? In fact, you also run theme-based collection drives and community hubs to collect clothes. Can you describe how that happens?
So, right from the beginning, we are absolutely open to cloth, utensil, footwear, door, window, exhibition
even
leftover.
furniture.
Yeah, huge amount of furniture. Even doors and windows. I mean, you renovate your house, send the entire material to us. One DDA house can actually be very useful in having the best possible doors and windows for 3 schools. So that's how we match everything. Except a shit pot. Everything is acceptable to us. And we are also saying that the whole concept of this is that if a person dies at whatever age, okay, we all feel sad. And our question is why this material is dying early. So like this, I might not need it tomorrow because I'll have more, suppose. But this has life. This can still live for two more years. Why is it going in landfill? If it changes hands, it will solve the problem. That's the whole thing which we came up. We also said that this entire creating hello here by creating our used material need to go away, because this entire game that I want to donate this and all that is rubbish. We don't donate, we discard. And
That's
half
a
of
very
us,
important mindset shift, because people feel really great that we are.
tell me, if there is no organization,
Hmm?
if there is no organization, if you do not have people who are economically really, really weak, what do? What are most of the European countries are doing? Where is their material going? It's just lying in landfill. So we are saying it's not a donation. Just say you're giving it, and start being thankful to the people who are using it, because they are the keeper of your emotions. They feel happy about it, which is your aankh ka kirkiri, as I always say, which troubles you, no, in your wardrobe. They feel happy about it. So they're giving you happiness. They're giving you, a smile. So be thankful to those people. So that was a very tough game, because your entire model depends on material from people. But you're very upfront in telling people that, boss, this is the reality. So you become a part of the good work, but come with a lot of humility. And make sure that you only give what you can wear or what you can use, but you're not, because you have more. But the fact remains that we get 20-30% of that comes to us, or maybe much more, is absolute rubbish.
Yeah. So how do you collect the material? Like, people can just come and give it to you, or you set up?
So we organize collection drives.
How fun are that?
Through volunteers at various places. So schools, colleges, residential welfare association.
And that's a constant process.
That's a constant process. I mean, I was just looking at the data of last financial year. Some 1,700 such collection camps itself happened in the country. Apart from a lot of other drives which happens with corporates, schools, colleges, as I said. And there are a lot of people who have corners in their offices or boxes in their offices, which is like a permanent thing. And then we have some collection center, which are the dropping center rather, which are the houses of volunteers, where people can come and drop in some cities. Then we get a large number of unsold inventories, customer return material, short expiry material of various retail chains and corporates.
Okay.
And it's a mix of materials. So that's how the collection happens. Then it goes through very rigorous process. Because
I wanted to ask, how do you maintain the quality of the donated?
No, so there's a very rigorous process of looking at every single unit of material, because in any case there is a huge divide. I mean, one very simple example I often give: if you talk about women clothing, say in India, in urban India, what you have it ladies suit, jeans, t-shirt, top. What rural India still needs sari, blouse, petticoat, or the traditional dress. If I talk about urban male like me, we all are 34 to 40, 38 type. Indian rural male is 26, 28 to 30, 32 max. Okay, and then you have size, culture,
And
geography,
diversity,
religion, whole lot
Yeah.
of beautiful things which are called diversity. So it's very important to match the need. I mean, huge amount of such material goes waste with all your efforts also, because you don't match the need. Because the biggest problem with the donation is, if we call it donation, is that we give what we have. We don't give what people need.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to tackle in these centers. We try to match as much as possible. So anything beyond 32, 34 will never go as a trouser. It will always be converted into a school bag or a jhula or something. There are some 100 different products which we create. So a cotton unusable stuff, cloth will become a sanitary pad, hosiery will become undergarment, torn jeans or trouser will become a school bag. So there's a range of products.
Where are these centers which convert the into different items?
So many of these. So we have big one in Delhi, Chennai, Rishikesh, then Alamnagar in Bihar, Palghar in Maharashtra. So we have many such centers where, 75% plus of our workforce is women. And that's by design, right from the board to wherever. Board is also 50-50. So our workforce is 75%. and most of them are just, so half of our workforce is actually into creating products out of this waste material, with a very clear focus that a very limited part is to be sold in urban, and most of it we need to create for the people who need it. So that's why we are focusing more on a school bag than a fancy bag. Same jeans can be converted into two products.
So, Goonj is based on the idea that there's something called an urban surplus. And, what is it? What do you call an urban surplus? And how did you come up with this idea of utilizing urban surplus to address basic needs in rural areas?
So anything which I don't need and it's lying in my store or somewhere where I have not even seen it for the last 6 months is actually useless, is surplus. I mean, look at the amount of utensils we have in our kitchens, waiting for a guest who hardly comes. And when he comes or she comes, you have a separate set of utensils which should look good on your dining table. So in a way, it is just a thing that you have to hold. Look at the way people discard their dining table. Okay, those 6 chairs and table will somewhere be lying in the go down if you have go down, and then you'll literally wait for more stuff to come. Then only that will go away, and by the time that goes away, it's of no use. And that's how a large part of material come to us. If it comes well on time, I mean, when you discard something mentally, you should discard that thing physically also. If you increase the gap in these two, it's a disaster. It's a disaster for you because it's still occupying your mental space and it's occupying your physical space. It's a disaster for that material because after a certain time, that material will not be usable. And the biggest story about this is shoes. 70-80% of the shoes which come to us are absolutely non-usable. It's a burden on us.
Oh.
Because you normally just keep it. You don't use it. I mean, this thing also has a life. Sooner or later, the cloth of the soul will die. And then it comes to us, which has no meaning.
The people also find it very difficult to even discard. It's sad.
Yeah. And although, I mean, there's no use of it because, and one example which I often give to people in this, that, when you go on your email, what do? You remove the junk and then you start attending the important email. I'm wondering why can't that happen in life also? I mean, there's something which is junk, which you don't need it, but someone else need it. I mean, look at a dining chair. So I always give this example to people that 6 dining chairs are actually the 50% business capital for 6 roadside barbers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because they just need one razor, one mirror, right? Couple of very small things. And the moment they have a chair, say suppose today they are charging 20 rupees, they'll be able to charge 30 rupees. And that chair is a discard for you. But it's a business capital for that person. Look at the roadside barber, the way they fix something for you to sit. Imagine those stones and leftover poles or dabbas, if those are replaced by your dining chair. So you don't have to even come to us. Go very humbly, go to that person and say, boss, will you accept it?
True.
Don't say that I am doing a service to you, because you're not doing a service to you.
Yeah.
You don't have a place to store.
Yes.
You will not send it to us because that will cost you 200 rupees just to send it. Go to the next store and solve it.
You encourage that you take these steps on that.
We encourage that. Goonj is not the only solution. Goonj is just triggering certain things. I mean, we don't want everything to come to us. We can't handle. We don't want to handle. Even Bata can't handle the shoe need of everyone. Even Airtel can't handle and we are much smaller than those guys. It should be a part of your life that go to a person and say thank you to that person and then give it. See how many thelawalas we see, in our neighborhood. How many of those women ever get a chance to sit on something? Because they can't afford. If every thelawala has a chair, they keep the thela, they keep the stuff, they'll put the chair also and go. Why not? They also have a right to sit, no? 10 hours, 12 hours, they're serving you. They give you fresh vegetables. They go at 3 o'clock to Okhla Mandi to bring the fresh vegetables for you. They do a distress selling in the evening. And you have a solution just to give a little bit of relief.
Yeah. Tell me, how do you ensure that this surplus wealth you're talking about is effectively shared in the community that you're taking it to? How do you avoid inequalities in the distribution process also? That would also be something which becomes your responsibility.
Cloth for Work is the name of the larger initiative. Right? There are many initiatives, but our flagship, I would say. That's like an Autofilter. So if you are distributing something, you'll find a huge queue. Right? But if you are providing something, but for that you have to do something. So like if you have to work on a well or on a pond for 5 days, 6 days, 4 days, whatever as per need of the area, because village only choose the kind of work they want to do, and then you receive it. So people who already have it, people who would have been there for a free distribution, but not for work and then get it, thus auto-filtering happens. So in many cases we are not worried about that. We are careful about that, but ultimately every single person is literally earning it.
I was going to ask you about I was going to come to Cloth for Work later, but since you brought it up, how is Cloth for Work different from Narega? For example, that is also the same kind of, the communities involved, they're building assets for the village. How is it different from that? And they are paid in cash.
Cloth for Work, the most important part is that the entire work is 100% chosen by the people. What work is needed. It is even open for Shamshan Bhumis and Kabristans and Akhadas, because that's the need. Right? Imagine Shamshan Bhumi and Kabristan are the most ignored basic need of humankind. No one talks about it. But anything goes wrong in that particular part of life, you always remember forever. So A, it is 100% chosen by the people. B, we are using the local wisdom like Narega use that. But more importantly, people are actually getting something which otherwise was a huge resource but would have gone in the landfill. So you're actually not spending money. You're not exchanging with money in that case.
Yes.
Right? You've been able to come out with a new currency for that.
So
and the people are still, we always do this. People are always encouraged to take care of Narega if Narega is there in your part. The other important part is that in many cases what we have seen, Narega is more of an employment generation scheme. Fine? But not to solve a problem always, because if you have a scheme for 20 days and your road is not completely made, it will be stopped there. But in this case, it's an absolutely task-oriented work, because it's decided by people. It doesn't matter how many days of work or whatever, because it's not a transaction. It's not that 3 hours you work, you get this, 6 hours you work. No. It's just a different way of...
So they are paid every day?
They're not paid. I will never use the word payment.
The exchange.
It's a family kit. Some work even take a month. So if you're making a check dam, so every morning before you go to the farm, you'll work for 3 hours. So it'll go on for a month, because it's a huge
and
work.
How will they receive the
one kit for
every
the family.
Day?
One kit for the family for the entire work.
Okay.
That's what I said. It's not a transaction. It's a different way of handling this thing. It's more important to tell people that they have the power. They can solve large number of problems by themselves. And why it is successful? Whatever little success we got, not because there is a kit. This is successful because this is maybe one of the very rare concept, not the only, but very rare concept, where people are accepted as it is. Where people decide what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. So it's the voice of people for themselves.
And you'd also need to get have a partnership with local organizations on the ground for this to work,
We
right?
do.
Because you would have.
We do.
And you've been quite successful in generating these kind of partnerships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fortunately.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you also get the, now for example, you're building a road or a check dam. You can't just go on a road and start, on somewhere and start building. You also need buy-in from government then. So you'll be having to deal with local government agencies. How do you get their buy-in to this?
My direct answer is that people are the biggest government.
Hmm.
So if people decide,
Give me the practical answer.
if people decide in a particular village that the pond needs to be cleaned, whatever permissions are required, if any, largely at the panchayat level.
Okay.
So if you see, the government is involved in all these work, but the very local government is involved. Very local governance structure, very locally elected, selected people are involved. So that's how the buy-in happen. And also these partnerships have been very helpful in that, because we might not have the inroads in those areas, but those local institutions have.
I was reading about you that in your system, both the givers and the recipients both matter individually and equally. So what does that really mean? And how do you view almost every entity as a stakeholder in this development process?
I think before calling ourselves a receiver or beneficiary or donor, I think we all need to really remember fundamentally that we are human beings. And that's the most equal thing among us. The other very challenging thought, which is working well, although it has its own tensions when you speak this language. So what I'm questioning is that if I give time, I'm a donor. Yeah. If the community is giving time, then how come they are beneficiaries? If I put in my skill, I'm a donor. When the community is using their skill, how come they are beneficiaries? If I put in money or say material, now in Goonj model, we are donors. But when the community is bringing say stone or bamboo or soil to make a road, then how come they are beneficiaries? So it's fundamentally power structured thing, where because I want to feel superior, I am feeling superior without any logic at all. Because if the money can make road, money would have made it. Stone can make road even without money to some extent. But money alone cannot. My material cannot. You see? So I think that is where, what is dignity? Dignity is that you value people as it is what they are to start with. We are doing that. Nothing else. We are not saying that, okay, कुआं खोदना है तो जिसको आता है, anyone who knows how to dig a well come. No, that's not the game, boss, because you need only 5 people to dig the well, 5 people to fix it, 10 people to remove the rubble. So it's a teamwork, and every single thing is a skill. You just value people.
Value it.
So for me, it doesn't matter who is beneficiary, who is receiver, who is giving, not at all. I mean, a lot of people came, they wanted a picture. We are giving 10,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees to Goonj. I want a picture with you. I said, why should I do that? You give me 1 lakh rupees because you must be earning say 10 lakh rupees. But there is another person who is earning 10,000 rupees and give 100 rupees. The value is same. So I'm not saying no to picture, But the picture cannot happen because you give 1 lakh rupees. Picture cannot happen because you give 2 cartons of load. It's all equal. I mean, picture we can take with anyone. That's not an issue. There's no arrogance in that. But the way you are behaving or someone is behaving, it's not a logical thing.
You've also you've said that instead of focusing on the big machines of development, the need is to pay attention to the needles of basic needs. What did you mean by that?
So, if you see, we were the first people to talk about the menstruation in public, right? And that is where, in my own life, when I was roaming around in Firozabad and found that how one of the lady used a piece of blouse which had a hook and she died of tetanus. That's what the entire community says, right? So the removal of uterus, right? Huge amount of health related issues, huge amount of indignity, okay? Health and personal and emotional, all kind of stuff happens. Why? Because of a small piece of cloth, not even a fancy ultra thin sanitary pad. That's what I call needle. So if you solve that little problem, half of women's health issues will not even come up. Or say if you want to solve problem of education, do we think that only the smart classroom where you can learn through web solve the problem? My answer is no. Maybe in some areas, to solve the problem of education, you will have to go and solve the problem of water for agriculture, irrigation. Because if the water for irrigation does not happen, the kid migrates. So those are the little needles. I also call them mosquitoes. Because I always tell people that it's our choice whether we want to work on malaria or we want to kill the mosquito. Mosquito means you go to the cause. So if you want to have beautiful cities, go and work in the villages, not in the cities only. Because I migrated by choice, but millions of people across the globe, they do not migrate by choice. They migrate in compulsion because we ignore their basic spaces.
You just were talking about menstruation. That would have been a very difficult and, the people don't want to talk about it. It's a taboo topic in that sense. How difficult was it to even initiate discussions within communities for this?
Initial phase it was tough, and I think it was not tough because of the community or the women or men there. It was largely complicated because of the certain opinion leaders in the process. Because not only they think about on their own behalf, they also think on the behalf of so many other people. And I know, I'll not name, but there were a lot of incidents that was the time when I was not able to use we because it's very small, and I used to travel a lot personally and take these sessions and try to gather people, and there were times when you only have 4 women talking to you or 10 women talking to you. That's how it has grown slowly. But the biggest bottleneck was some of those organizations, some of those opinion leaders who used to think that if we talk to the women like this, their husbands will come and beat them up. Or this is not the thing we should talk about. And I remember in 2005 or something, I literally had a fight with an institution. I said, listen boss, this space belongs to me also. Just because you work, it doesn't matter. You might have a better relationship, but I have the equal right to go in any village and talk about it. As long as the village allows me. You can't be the gatekeeper. And I remember how that meeting happened under a tree, because we never got this small covered space. And then the fact remains that women open up like anything, because this is not a subject which has been discussed. Not at all. Even in your own family. And even if you discuss it with your mother-in-law and sister-in-law, they're also equally ill-informed. No one knows about it. So people were so, they were offering so much. They were opening so much.
How does this process work? You provide them with the cloth for the need, and that's how it's distributed?
So in the initial phase, we always used to just tell people that anything which is oversized and all, please use it like that. That's how the dialogue started happening.
Okay.
Yeah. But then we thought that no, I think we need to do it. So now
you do it at your end.
So we have a full-fledged system now in many cities. So every single cotton cloth is now converted into a pad, which is called Mypad. Then all the hosiery material are becoming undergarments with the loop, so that you can hold it. Your advertising material, flax and all, those are converted into a pouch
to keep it.
So that if you are changing in the field, you bring it back. So Mypad actually has become the cheapest possible, 100% environment friendly, 100% reusable, easiest to use kind of sanitary pad. So it's like And we don't call it a product, For us, it's again a tool to open up the subject. We also do something called Chuppi Thodo Baithak, break the silence.
What is
meeting. So that is where these dialogues happen. That's where we talk about it. And we are not talking about exactly about women body, because a lot of these biological thing, maybe people don't need to know. What they need to know that what are the consequences, why if you are bleeding more, is not because you have committed a lot of sins. Because that's the common perception.
Acha. Okay.
Okay. Because there have been no conversation about it. So we are just trying to break those myths and tell people that what is a two-way process. It's not just a one-way process. If we don't take care, the infection goes in, right? And it's a biological process. It's a normal process, And let's just also come out of those, I would say, drama statement that I enjoy my period. Maybe we don't understand the pain of those hundreds of people who do not have resources to handle it. Where you do not have a proper
that's
toilet
speaking
or
from
water.
a complete place of privilege, right? Yeah.
Let's normalize it.
Yes.
I remember in my early days of this work, I always used to say that I want to make it a dining table subject. So it becomes common. We talk about it.
Your involvement in disaster relief started with the Uttarkashi earthquake. And how has Goonj Rahat program developed over the years? In fact, even in disasters, women, children and the elderly are the worst affected. And women with their their menstruation needs would be completely getting sidetracked there also. And how is your work involved in the...
So I think right now it is one of the biggest vertical for us. In the initial phase, again I remember those initial idealism and dialogue baji, as I say. We used to say that we should not wait for a disaster because poverty is an ongoing disaster. Right? So we never knew that we will get so deep into disasters. And Uttarkashi was a very interesting story because we were just registered that time. We didn't know what is happening. And we made a small appeal to the neighbors and all that in Sarita Vihar in Delhi and collected some stuff. And it was about 4 or 5.5 gunny bag, just small gunny bag. And we thought it's huge. So we called Red Cross because the only thing we knew about disaster is Red Cross. And we said, we have a lot of stuff. So please come and collect. They sent a huge vehicle, And then we saw our material. But for us, it was too much. Because we never thought that we can collect these 5 gunny bags. So we said sorry to them. And they were also very beautiful people. Whosoever come, they accepted it. In the evening, we celebrated it because we did something. And this was literally just few days of registration, 1999. But after that, it just evolved. And why it evolved? Because the immediate thing which is needed in disaster is certain kind of material. And our work is 24/7 material. Effective disaster management will happen with the best possible logistics.
Yeah.
And understanding of those communities. That's our 24/7 work. Building relationships, partner organization, community work, building relationship with the units of Indian Army to border road organization.
You've done that also. In Srinagar, you worked with the Indian Army.
Yeah. Border road organization to the panchayat, to whosoever we know that is the best player there. So that's how in disaster our work really, really picked up. And COVID became one of the biggest proof because earlier the disaster used to happen in one part and the other part of the world used to support that. If you see Kerala flood, Tamil Nadu flood, Jammu Kashmir flood, Uttarakhand flood of 2013. But if you see the COVID, disaster happened everywhere in everyone's home. And that time we realized that, boss, what have we done? It's so complicated to tackle it now. It's so overwhelming. Because every time you enjoy these few hundred partner organization, you spread in 25, 26, whatever number of states, it keeps changing every year a little bit. And these relationships with hundreds and thousands of people, all that you enjoy, you boast about it, right? And then suddenly a disaster happens where the supply side it stops, especially the second-hand goods. Offices are largely closed. Your entire logistics is in problem, right? And the demand is huge. But I think that became one of the biggest thing for us. How we localize it, you know, it is so far one of the most satisfactory work in our life, for sure. How we moved out of this concept of dal chawal and said that food kit does not mean dal chawal only.
Yes.
Food kits means fruits and vegetables also. So we went to the local farmers there, and in those days in Karnataka, the Kolar belt, tomato they were forced to sell for almost 50 paisa a kg. In Bihar, they were selling green chili for 4 rupees a kg, 400 rupees a quintal, which is not even the cost of the seed. And it's absolutely perishable, fine. So we said, can we convert that into the food kit, fruit kit, vegetable kit? So it was very localized, that one village is making this. We are procuring that at market prices, not at distress price. So our entire agriculture cycle goes on. Fine.
And here your partnerships really helped you.
And some 400,000 kgs of, almost 4 lakh plus kgs of vegetable and fruits we procured at the market prices, no distress prices. And it's gone locally.
So how do you plan to enhance Goonj's rapid response now in the, you had a COVID experience also. How do you plan to address further future disasters, so to say? So
it's a very, until unless you have local hubs, it will not work. So we already have those systems. So like we know that from the month of June, floods will start. So the entire April and May.
Oh, you're preparing for it, that it will happen.
We prepare, we create a lot of hubs. So like if we know that in Bihar, say in Narkatiyaganj or that entire area of Champaran will be flooded, because mostly that's what happens. So we have identified a lot of spaces and systems to hold enough material which is supplied now, so that when the disaster happens, you're not dependent on the highways or the big roads, but locally you can take a boat and roam around. You mentioned earlier on when you were talking about how notebooks and what is needed in schools, and you've started a school to school initiative. How did that come up, and how has the response been to that? I think again it goes back to the material part, fine, because it's very unfortunate that when we think of our life, we're very material focused. We need the best. Although I've been arguing with people that you can only have one dining table in your life, so hold it. But when you talk about the financially weaker community, what you think of is just maybe giving rice or giving some food, but you ignore that entire chain. That person is also a human being, and that
needs
person
other things also.
Has exactly the same need. That person also needs something to sit. Even if you downgrade, don't imagine a chair, imagine something. Very simple. If you give rice, that person needs a pan to cook and a plate to eat. Very basic. Because we are human.
So even these books and all are converted into notepads?
No. So what we started noticing, that how large number of students are suffering because of the very basic material, which is notebooks, school bags, lunch box, pencil box, pencil, very basic education material. And because it has become a revenue model for a lot of these private schools, even in the smaller area where you don't need it, but they'll force you to buy in certain cases. But large number of schools, especially in the government system, are still away from this fraud.
Yes.
Yeah. So at
the
least
big
we can
fraud, I call it.
So we can serve to those, and those are in millions.
Yes.
In that way. So we collect this material again from the students a lot. This also gives us a chance to speak about the grit and the courage of the rural kids. So we never sell the poverty. Right? We never say that because this kid does not have this, you give it. No, that's not the idea. The idea is that you are privileged, you can share. And that guy is very beautiful, that guy is very talented.
It doesn't.
You have an extra thing which is called opportunity and where you were born. No guilty. We're not saying that feel guilt about it, but do understand that that's the same kid. So let's just share. Whosoever has, let's just share. So we bring in, we build a lot of these exhibitions and conversations with the urban kids, and hundreds and thousands of urban kids actually visit our centers.
Oh, okay, that's lovely.
Just to see that firsthand. So it's solving a lot of issues. It is at good scale, but we're not getting into pedagogy or education and all that, because that's not our expertise.
This material collection.
That's material, because what the very important thing which we've been able to solve with that is that one thing which we noticed is largely in the rural education and in the municipality schools, what is completely cut off is the relationship of the school and parents.
Achha.
Right?
Yeah.
So like private school, if you see, which India calls public school, there's a relationship of parents in the school.
Yeah, it's a very crucial part of
Very
the
crucial
education
part.
system. Yeah.
But if you see the local, the entire rural education and the municipality education,
There's no connect.
completely cut off. So large number of people think that parents are sending kids for the midday meal.
Yes.
They're wrong. It's the failure of that system which is not connecting with the parent, because they want to contribute, they want to know. They're not sending only for the midday meal. That's our notion, because we want to think like that. So we broke that. We said that can we make parents a part of it?
And how do you do that?
So the cloth for work kind of thing. So parents and all kids and all, they come together to make a ground for the school, to do a lot of plantation, to develop hundreds and thousands of kitchen gardens, which
Yes,
supplies the vegetables to the school.
And
So it's all
cloth for
looped.
work is looped into the system.
Then the kid gets the school kit.
Oh, that,
No charity. I mean, we are saying that this sense of entitlement needs to move out. There has to be a sense of achievement. When I was growing, and in those days, plastic was a luxury. Right?
Yes.
If you get a plastic glass, that used to be, when you are first in your debate and all that,
Yes.
there used to be a plastic glass or a plastic plate. But this was a sense of achievement. Not that I am entitled to a utensil every year. At least from the kid's life and from everyone's life, that needs to go away, because we are undermining people. People do want to contribute. Why not? And the cloth for work is a proof of that. So I think that is where school to school has been very
Has this
instrumental.
thing. So, you mentioned earlier how many people you have now associated with Goonj, and volunteers are a major part of it. How did you create such a strong volunteer network?
I think volunteers, we are able to create those beautiful groups of people, or hundreds, thousands of those, because we are just making sure that all of us understand our duty here, and all of us also celebrate our role in doing this. So I remember when in early days also, if someone calls you up from, say, in Delhi, they call you up from Dwarka, and then instead of saying thank you, we used to say that okay, fine, because we never go and pick up material, you have to
Yes,
come
I
and
know.
drop.
Huh.
So we actually used to remind that person that you are using your Maruti, okay, and you are only, say, coming with your own stuff. You have a dicky. Can you just talk to 2 more neighbors
Okay.
and say if they want to give something? Right? So this person who is just talking first time to us, because we had a conversation, this person actually talks to 2 more people, okay, or 3 more people. And even if one agrees, this person has a sense of achievement. And the moment he comes here, he or she, whosoever comes here, we say now the next step is that, listen, one person listen to you. So can you organize this in your condo or your colony or your association? And we are there to support with all the material you need. Team will be there to talk to people about it. That's how it just started growing.
Yeah.
Because you understood your own power.
Yeah.
You understood that I might be a retired person, but
you
my
can-
asset is that people listen to me.
And is that how you tied up with a lot of corporate? Like you mentioned that there are boxes which people can give, and they are permanently fixed in a lot of offices and all. Is that the same way, or you had to personally go and
No,
do
I
it
don't. No, we didn't go personally. To be honest, all these people who become your volunteer, are also associated.
Yeah.
Either they're a teacher or someone in bank or someone in corporate. So the next step for that person is also to move to the organization and say, this is what we can do. So Diwali stall is happening, and it's 24/7 work for many, many years, and even now, because these relationships are very important. And one of the things which we are very sure that we are not building these relationships for Goonj.
Then?
Goonj is just a medium. Large number of people who are associated with us now, they're also associated with many other institutions. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, I often tell people in all these choppas and other events that not everywhere we can be present, right? But if you serve a local organization, non-political, non-religion, because that in any case happens. I'm talking about non-political, non-religion contribution of your work and money, If you do that with anyone, just think that you've done it for Goonj. We're happy. So that's how so many places you find so many people.
So that
associated.
amplifying Goonj effect
Yep.
keeps happening.
Yep.
Goonj channelizes over 2,000 ton of material and is spread over, I think, about 25 states. And are you looking to go global? Because what I was reading is that people like to scale up the organizations, but you are focusing on the global replication of the Goonj. In your office, I believe you still use old furniture and old computers, and you haven't upgraded at all.
So total, we were just looking at the data. In the last 9 years itself, it's almost about 55 million kgs, which is about 5.5 crore kgs of material, which we have been able to handle. COVID time, it went up to parts of 31 states and union territories. Normally, it ranges between 23 to 26. Why I say ranges, like last year we added Himachal Pradesh for one year, or Manipur when the crisis happened there. We might not work there. So in that year there was a spike. So that's how it operates. For sure, for us the idea is, and the so-called success is if we can scale the idea, if more replication and copy happens. I mean, even in my Maxase acceptance speech in 2015, I've actually said that we are giving you a copyright to copy our ideas.
I was just going to say, people would normally get irritated if somebody copied their idea.
No, we feel happy because only two things can be copied. One which is really, really bad, and one which is really, really good. So I say that maybe it might not be that bad, but if someone is copying it, if someone wants to really do it, it's our responsibility to work with that person to copy it. Yes, there should not be bad copy, because I know a few years back, and now also happen, many people just take the photographs and the same language and then change the name. Even the campaign names are taken by the leading newspapers and run those campaigns as their own campaign. Right? We can't stop them. Right? I mean, this is the worst thing. And I mean, you run a huge newspaper or a corporate or whatever, and you do such, as I say, Chindigiri, that's your problem, fine. And you are also confusing people with that. You can always build up on that.
Yeah, and you have the reach.
You have the reach. You can build up, and maybe you have more wisdom, you have more experience, you have more collective experience. We're kids. So that's where we say that we are absolutely happy if globally, not only in India, and we have a lot of interest from other countries on it. To be honest, 18-19, we had started something on this, that other countries also start taking it. Then COVID, we became very busy. Now we're again in that mode, that more people start working on it. And imagine a day that the world starts imagining second-hand goods not as something to be discarded in landfill, but as a currency, as a problem solver.
To use.
Yeah. So see how many problems it will solve, especially when you're talking about climate disaster, landfill, circularity. I mean, these are new buzzwords. For the last 25 years, without knowing these buzzwords,
yeah, but
there is a proof of concept.
Sustainable fashion is a major buzzword now. And I kind of believe that, we haven't understood it from all parts of it, because every brand is now talking of sustainable fashion, sustainable fashion. But what is it really? Because if it's fashion, you're going to want to upgrade and you're going to want to change. But the cycle needs to be understood.
And the production will keep happening. Let's be honest about it. Right?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Because
that
that's what people
production
don't understand. Because these
and
people,
it's an economy. It's going to run.
it's an
It needs
economy.
to.
People will say we are providing so many jobs and all that.
Yeah.
So one option is this, where you find a different segment of the society which still needs it.
Yeah.
And if it circulates in that, I'm not saying this is the only solution, but this is one of the solution. And yes, on your earlier question, we do use the second-hand material. Say in our offices, we haven't bought any. First time in the last 25 years, after the full-fledged work from home finished and everyone came back, then we had no chairs to sit. So I think the only entry of furniture in the last 25 years in our books is about 20 chairs.
Yeah.
Nothing else. I mean, every single thing in the offices, especially in terms of furniture, is.
Yeah, because that's the first thing people want to do now. Once they become successful, is want to put the swanky
we are
furniture.
we are still in very what people call suburbs and outskirts. Although what is outskirt these days? But if you see, we started in Sarita Pyaar and Madanpur Khadar when there was no Modi Mill flyover. Those days, you can say that way, or it was just the starting of it. So similarly in Bombay, we are at Mira Road. Now, of course, every single place is becoming more and more.
Tell me, how do you measure the impact of your work?
I think one, if people start taking their own initiatives. So if I see cloth for work, and if we see that we all say cleaned a pond as a part of cloth for work, but when you go there after 3 months, 6 months, is the pond clean? Okay, because that means you are taking responsibility. That is one important parameter. Or if we created 100-meter road or 200-meter roads together, or 500 meters, a kilometer road together, did you really make efforts to go to the government agency, to the panchayats and all, to make it pakka? And more than half of our work, largely, becomes pakka.
Achha.
Because there are budgets, right? There are people, and for every single thing we know that there is a budget, right? This is where the conviction comes, this is where the community goes, this is where people see it is happening. They also understand the value of it. So like there are a lot of places where we created a bamboo bridge, first time in the history of those areas, and now you have proper concrete bridge.
Achha.
So in our case, everything is trigger. So like if you see our center, there's a section on the one side use paper. Because in the last 25 years, we don't remember buying an A4 sheet from the market. Even our letterhead, our correspondence on the project to the government, our annual reports and whole lot of these things are always printed on the one side use paper. So we get the wastage from the photocopy shops to the corporates in huge quantities, and then take out everything, a pin and everything, and then use it in our printers and all. And a lot of people come visit, and then we see that suddenly someone who used to send a tempo of paper to us has stopped. And that's our success.
Oh.
Because you start using it. And it has happened so frequently and so many times.
Being known as the clothing man in India, and you've got prestigious awards, and the Raman Magsaysay Award is, of course, the biggest. What does it mean for you personally?
In the fun part, I often tell people by earlier where I was called as a guest, now I am called as a chief guest. But I think, if you see some of these fellowships, whether Ashoka or Schwab, these are also big recognition. I think one thing which these things bring to you is is a group of mad people on a platter, and you feel that you're not alone. It's a huge community of such useless
Mad
creatures
hatters.
all across, and that's a very good thing to have your own kind of people also working on crazy ideas or
Making a difference.
I don't know. I mean, all of us, of course, that's the whole purpose. But at least working on their own principles, on their values, creating something, leaving a little bit of legacy somewhere. Fine. Not so. The fact remains that not only the political or the business people leave a legacy. There are so many other people also who leave a legacy, right? And the people who are working on the social cause also in a big way. So you find that community. Max is a kind of thing, of course, are big surprises in life because you never thought that somewhere where you see Mother Teresa or Pandit Ravi Shankar or Vinoba Bhave, somewhere, your name will be there because you never thought about it. So that, of course, came as a very big, very beautiful surprise. And also, whatever it means for me is one part. More importantly, I remember when the Maxase happened or some other recognition. Even in the remotest possible villages, when people came to know, especially if it is covered by media and something, that's how the news travel. We don't tell everyone. People were distributing sweets in the villages. Okay? They don't even know what is Maxase all about. Half of us don't know. A lot of people don't know. But they were just feeling happy about it. So something good happened to us. Not to me,
Yes.
but to us. Because and as I always say, doing good is a collective responsibility. I'm the face of it. I'm privileged.
Tell me, individuals who want to contribute to Goonj's mission, but don't know what best they can do. What type of how they can give, whether the time, material. What would you suggest for more people to join and come forward?
So most important part for us is for sure material. Okay. But more important that material, with the material, is also this different language. Right? So that you bring corrections in the way people are giving. No one in the world should get a blood-soaked undergarment or a distorted jeans or a shoe without a sole or a broken toy. No, something which should go to kabadi, fine, so that it is recycled or something. How can it land up in the hands of people? And we are not the only one who are at the receiving end. We are, one institution. If you hear from so many institutions, you'll find the same. If you hear from so many people, individual, you'll find the same. Why should your house help get your suit, which you have already worn for 3 years, and you are insisting that your red color suit should be given to her? She hates red color. She doesn't want. She never liked when you were wearing red color, but she had no say. Now she has a say. She has a right to say no. Don't come and say wo bigad gayi. She doesn't want. So how do you respect? And material is a very beautiful tool to have these dialogues. I mean, see what we are doing. And for the last 25 years, we're collecting and sorting. We're doing the same work. But see how many things we've been able to create. And more importantly, language. More importantly, dialogue. So that is what we need more and more people to do with us. Right? And then, of course, the second is money, because it's a very sad thing that people come and they come and tell us that how they support Goonj in this, and then they give money somewhere else. They don't understand that if you give me a T-shirt, you
need to add
value. It will be sorted by a paid person, sitting at a paid place, will be transported by a paid transport. So many corporates also, institutions also, they do massive collection drive. They get the best possible brownies for that, right? And we get the material. But every truck is a logistical thing.
Yeah, and though you've been able to do some, I believe, some economical partnerships in your transportation and gunny bags, but yeah, it's
little
true
bit. I mean, the partnership वो एक घोड़ा घास से यारी वाला बात है.
हाँ, मैं वही
It doesn't
सोच रही थी
happen
कि
on
वो
a daily
भी-
basis.
हाँ,
No, it's
yeah.
very rare. It does happen.
Yeah. So donations are important and sensitizing.
Money and
is
material
the
both are
yeah.
important, and also
and being sensitive, like you
very
said.
sensitive. That's the most important part, because as I said, that Goonj is not the end of story. Fine. I mean, if you change that basic thinking process, and a lot of people are not doing it in a deliberately.
Yeah, they just don't know better.
No, because like I tell you, when tsunami happened, 2004-5, there was almost about 100 trucks of material at Virgambakam go down of the government, which was undistributed. So somehow we got into it. We said we will sort it and all that. While sorting first 100,000 units in Chennai, in the heat, we actually found about 1,300 monkey caps. Full cap of Kashmir and other places. Right? So my question there is that someone must have made effort to go to a dropping center and give it. Someone must have spent money to bring it to Chennai. Someone must have even bought new. But do you understand, it's very important to understand the need of people. When you go and travel, now in the Google days, you find what is the temperature, what should I pack. Before Google day, you used to call up your relative कि भाई क्या temperature चल रहा है, गर्म कपड़ा लेके आऊँ कि नहीं आऊँ. Then you used to pack. So why does it change when you have to give it to someone? It's human. That is where we need more and more people to bring a fundamental shift in this game. Otherwise, it's just go or come and drop it at Goonj, and Goonj will take care. Okay, fine, we'll take care whatever you bring. But it's much beyond that.
Anshu, your earnestness and it's still so fresh. It was really wonderful talking to you, and I hope that through this we are able to reach at least a few people and who come forward as meaningful contributors to the cause. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anshuji. It was great talking to you. Goonj has various initiatives in Delhi, ranging from relief efforts to community development projects. Many of us are eager to contribute to social causes but don't know what to do or even how to go about helping. I'm sure after listening to today's podcast, many of us would like to sign up in whatever capacity we can and make a difference. With the Delhi Love, we speak to people from Delhi who have stories to share. Stories of those who are invested in the city. We help build communities and open conversations that make Delhi more accessible, welcoming, and adventurous. Join us next time as we explore Delhi's hidden gems, people, places, and stories on Delhi Love, Ishq, Muhabbat, Pyaar. I'm Yasmin Kidwai. Until next time.